Right, rear chain adjustment. If you look at the back of the bike, aesthetically, to look at it, you basically want the middle of that tread in the middle of your mudguard, which it's out, but it's not massively out.
Yeah.
Okay, the first thing I do is get anything. This is only there's nothing majorly critical here. So against the outside of your tyre, we're roughly in the middle of the tube, yeah? Do that the other side, you're roughly in the middle of the tube, yeah? It's nothing, you know, there isn't anything majorly, especially on, it's not a Grand Prix bike, you know? It really isn't that much, and the chances of getting an original one of these which actually is straight, not bent to shit, is quite rare.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got chain adjusters here on both sides. That just lets you push your wheel back. They're oversized, these, so what you'll find is the thread's worn out in those, so they drilled them out and put a bigger bolt in. So that's your lock nut. That holds the spindle in across the rear wheel. Take him all the way off. Got a special locking washer which just looks like that to hold your big nut. Right, he showed a point on the end of that. The correct one should be machined flat.
Yeah.
And it just pushes against that circular washer. So next you have to undo that because that holds the back plate in square. These are very common for the thread to go on them. Fine thread. So that's loose enough, as long as it's loose, yeah? Yeah. That back plate there can slide. If you go around the other side, okay, you don't have to undo the 9/16 nut on the outside because the back plate will slide on that slot.
Yeah.
Okay? The next thing you do is get the back wheel off the floor. So jack, if you've got a ramp, or you can do it on the rear stand, but as we know, the rear stands on these are rubbish. That's all you need, just enough clearance. Chain looks like it's running okay, so right, you've got the lock nut on there. Hold your outside, undo your lock nut, wind him up out of the way, yeah? Same both sides. Right, and wind them in finger tight till they're touching, both sides. Okay, so that's touching. Now you can either do it by eye, or if you're worried about getting that back wheel out, just do one turn, or half a turn. Half a turn. So I know I've done both sides, so do another half a turn that side, half a turn that side, we're back onto one. Still loads loose, so let's go half one. This isn't critical, like I said. Half one. Probably another turn will do that. Let's go half first. Half. Half. Yeah, a little bit loose still. Because you haven't got to allow for suspension travel, obviously, because it's a rigid frame. If you're doing this on something with suspension, you get somebody to sit on it when you adjust the chain.
Okay.
That's about right. Again, no bounce in it as such, you know, like we were looking at the primary. You don't want anything sagging, but you don't want it so tight you can't turn it. So spin your back wheel. Listen for any untoward noises on the cogs, or if it's out of line. That's about right. Check it for a tight spot if you want to. That's a little bit tighter there. A little bit looser there. That's about right. Just as a means check. edge of the tyre, we're just off the centre going that way.
So you're just checking to make sure it's still square, yeah?
Yeah, so that wheel has come that way slightly. So we'll back off that one. Just that little bit. The wheel bearings are loose. It's not done up yet, so. Right, we're in the middle there. That's moved quite a lot there, isn't it? We'll draw him round some more. Let's loosen that back off. They're funny because in some ways they'll only sit where they want to sit when you tighten up the spindle.
Okay.
Because it's a square shank in there, so you can try and hold that round there, do it up, it'll only go back to where it wants to go normally. So roughly in the middle. Let's check this side again. Right, that's back in the middle of that. We're back in the middle there, so that's ballpark. It just goes to show by doing them roughly equal amounts you could still get it wrong.
Yeah.
So it's just an eyeball thing. So we know that that was pulling that way a little bit. So if we hold the wheel there, you want to do your back plate up first, obviously.
Would the chain have moved at that point?
Not massively, no, because you've pivoted it that way, not physically moved it that way.
Okay.
So that will still be alright. People hang on these because it's a big nut. Doesn't have to be that tight. All that's doing is locking your back plate up.
Yeah.
The one that needs to be tight is that, because the spindle runs through everything and holds it all in line.
Yeah.
So that, hence they're quite a fine thread, you often find them stripped out. So you don't need to hang on the end of the spanner like a lunatic, you know. That's enough. Okay, lock nut on, lock washer rather. That's that. Again, this wants to be tight, but not sort of about to break it tight. You need to nip it up. Right, that's tight enough. No untoward noises. That's nice. Right, so then what I do is I back those back off, because that'll be loose. Just do it up by hand, yeah? Because this is what will stop anything moving when you accelerate. So you want to hold that on there. You just pinch up your lock nut. Again, don't have to be massively tight. And that just stops your axle moving as you accelerate or put any power through the bike. Your lock nut, and then just check it again. Make sure you're happy with it. That's running nice. Roughly central, measures up okay there and there. People get into great technical lengths of setting these things up, measuring to rims. You could have a bent rim, the tyres could be out around. It's not a Grand Prix bike, like I said, and you ain't going to worry about your cornering skills on one, that's for sure. So as long as it's reasonably in line and your chain isn't, the cogs ain't doing that on the chain,
yeah,
you're there.